Roll call for the building committee. I'm here, Mario's here, Armand's here, Kathy's here, Pat's here, Robin's here, Donna's here, Doug's here. Sue Else, Sue Webb is here, John, Fiona's coming, Ellen. No, she's coming.
She changed her mind. She has said 5 minutes ago.
Amy and Dan. Brian Scott's on Zoom. Okay. Allison's here, and Melissa's here. Okay, go to bed.
Mr. Berger.
Here.
Mr. Corey not here, Mr. Fredis not here, Mr. Leo not here, Ms. Sonic here, Mr. Fisco.
Here.
Ms. Richardson.
Here.
Ms. Toder.
Here.
Seeing there for phone. Ms. Ferguson, Mr. Bomsky. Mr. Bowler, is that there? Okay, and Fiona's on her way. All set.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. Can I like to add 2 items? They're in your packet. To the agenda would be, I'll call it 6C1. It's change order number 1, and 6C2, change order number 4 that are in your packet. Can I have a second to approve that change? Second, John.
Who was first?
I can be first.
I'm first.
You'll be first.
Of course, I just didn't hear who was first, that's all.
I'm never first in my house.
You're first with us.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now can I have approval of the whole agenda? Okay.
So move.
Okay, John.
Second.
Second, Pat. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I didn't send the minutes out early. I didn't have them. So you have them in here. So why don't you take a. Yeah, you know, that's.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do I have a motion to approve? On second. Robin. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Public participation, anybody in the public wants to talk? Next item is discussion action, trade recommendations from ONG. You have that as the next item. There are 3 motions there, but not all. One is for the building committee, one is for the board, and one is for city council. We'll see them. So that's why there's 3 in there. So Dan, you want to?
Certainly.
So as we discussed a couple of weeks ago, this is the process by which the building committee has to make a recommendation to the Board of Ed to authorize them to, or to recommend to them that they execute the award letters. Those award letters that get executed by the city council, and that's what allows us to issue contracts to the state. So the next batch, for lack of another word, has been identified in the motions in front of you. But there's a couple of decisions to be made, and they are in regard to the alternates. Now, as a basis of understanding, you should know that you have time to make decisions on alternates. Built into the contract docs, that you have, months to make that decision, unless it impacts the schedule. So where I spoke to a couple of weeks ago, one decision that we need is whether or not we want to proceed with what is called the terrace. And that is a structural steel element that stands off the western side of the building outside the faculty room. It's supported by structural steel, and there's two components to the cost. One is structural steel. The other is what we call miscellaneous metals for the grating and the handrail that's associated. The impact to us is we're now expecting shop drawings, and we're going to move to approve and start fabrication of structural steel. So we'd like to make a firm decision on whether that's a go or no go. That is identified in bid documents as bid alternate number B3 for the terrace. The value of that scope of work is $153,750. Based on our current status of budget, just to give you another quick overview. So you wouldn't find any information on that alternate in the packet that you have tonight. It was just part of the packet that was identified in that large spreadsheet that I passed out 2 weeks ago.
Is that
So I
just
think
the
it's-
structural value, the framing value, or is that the value of the frame?
That's the two bid packages combined.
Yeah.
There, I'll defer to my pal on the left.
So this is a porch, so to speak, because it is a raised structure. It's like having a deck off the back of your house. In this case, it is a narrow but comfortable deck for the faculty. It is only accessed through the faculty lounge or dining, faculty dining. And so it's just a matter of giving them a place to step outside for fresh air. It is nice to have. It is not program area that is required by the EdSpec or anything that would impact the teaching and learning, other than giving the teachers a nice welcome break, I'm sure.
How wide is it?
Sorry, like what could go out there?
I'm gonna give you that information, but I think it's about 8 feet, 6 or 8 feet.
Yeah, it's generally about 8 feet. But
So a table,
It's been a while since I.
You could put tables and chairs, you could put, not
Yeah.
just,
Small.
yeah, I mean, this is easy, that's like what we're sitting at,
If the terrace isn't there, what would be in its place?
nothing.
Like, okay, we just put a picnic table out there?
No.
It's on the second
Second
floor.
floor, it's upstairs.
Yeah.
When you're on the second floor,
Okay.
get some fresh air.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And jump.
I thought it was-
So otherwise it would be windows.
Correct.
that would
Right,
be
you have
able to
windows on that
open.
elevation and then already, but there would be no
We
door.
would be
that goes
replacing one of the
outside.
windows with a door, but the windows will remain across. the
Windows that are able to be opened.
No, no.
Trying to.
Whose idea was this?
Been in the documentation since day one. Idea, I don't know if it was our idea as far as the design team goes and just suggestion to the client, to the programming meetings, or if it came up in a programming meeting where we are always talking about, especially after COVID, that outdoor learning spaces are appreciated, outdoor areas for just getting fresh air is appreciated. And so Because of where the faculty lounge is, the dining hall, dining area is located on the second floor, we couldn't just provide a door to grade level. We knew that costs would be tight, so we documented it as an alternate so that we could discuss it whenever we knew about the finances of the project. So that's why it's up for discussion.
Are there any other areas where the teachers can go outside? within this
Other
school?
than-
Other than that second floor dining? area?
Well, I mean, any,
Not dedicated
there's not a
areas.
dedicated area just for faculty. The courtyard has a couple of what I would call learning environments or like patio concrete areas with seating that would allow a teacher to take the class outside. It, you know, so the teachers are welcome to use that, I guess, but faculty workrooms are associated with the academic classrooms, and those are all on raised levels. They're on levels 2, 3, and 4 in high school, and 2 and 3 in middle school. So there's not a convenient place for them to go outside during one of their break periods if they're in the faculty workroom. So the dining room for faculty is the best place we could find for space.
So what's the cost then? if we
It's
decide-
the 150.
So the adult opportunity cost is 153,750, 153,000. And again, if you want to give Amy a minute or two, if you want to make, you know, this decision is a tricky one. Some of them I think are pretty cut and dry. You know we're not in a budget situation where we have extra money. We've done an extreme amount of diligence trying to find some extra money and to bring the budget back to balance. As was reported at the last meeting, you know, there's a $500,000 hit to what we would like to see as our contingency on the CM side, the at-risk side. There's a $575,000 hit on the owner side. Just a piece of information, since we met 2 weeks ago, we've continued to vet more ideas. We did pick up another 345,000.
343, 784.
of potential savings. So we're still in.
We're still looking at that, and it's in your packet. There's the items that are still, we're still looking at. You know, they came with a number, let's say of 150,000. We think it's more, but we're still sorting that.
Right, to just give you the overview, you know, the 30,000 foot view, which shows you that, you know, you're not in a budget positive situation. A want to have is not something that you would want to consider. Unfortunately, at this point in time, we have to make some difficult decisions early to keep timetables moving, like on this particular one, structural steel. And just so,
John,
Okay, any security vulnerabilities to putting another door on the second floor that you could probably fairly easily, if you were a kid, for instance.
Boy, I don't,
in that particular location,
I
it
don't
would
think
be
so.
hard pressed to find a way to physically get to that location.
Okay, and maintenance, long-term maintenance?
It is a painted
Structural
rock.
steel?
It's a
Painted
galvanized, right, it's galvanized.
Sounds old.
So.
Oh
You've got a.
John, nothing on the building is ugly.
Structural steel holding up a deck and one floor up? Like a fire escape without a staircase.
Oh my gosh.
Similarly.
I'm sorry to give you apoplexy, but you know, I see this as hideous, but
Well, you're welcome to review the renderings again and
I
and the video.
I'm sure it's absolutely gorgeous. I still think it's awfully expensive. And the maintenance job.
Balancing everything we know about the cost and over budget. Can I hear from those of you who work with teachers all the time and know the stressors, and given that we've already taken away the number of classrooms, that they don't have their own classrooms, just a month. Kathy, you guys to just give us feedback on how much you think this would be appreciated by them.
I think the convenience of it would lend itself much more practical for teachers to use it. Like now, no one really goes outside now because there's not enough time and there's not any space to go. But I do think that being outdoors and having a nice place for teachers to relax, or be outside in the fresh air is a positive. Yes, it's expensive.
I think it would be lovely. Cost wise, I think it could be a cost savings. I think the way the building is structured, there's other areas where people will be able to go outside. And if we put benches and we put other areas, I think folks can go out and eat. They do on other campuses as well, and they find other areas. It doesn't have to be a designated area. This is nice because it's outside the faculty room. I'm not trying to be mean to the faculty. I just think that there will be other areas that they can set up and eat outside. But I understand what Robin's saying. It would be lovely. But it's also $153,000.
I think it would be nice, however, my porch outside, be hard pressed to use it between the months of May to October. Our school year is September to June, which really is only giving you 3.5 months to actually use an outdoor patio. The rest of the months are cold. I don't know how often teachers going to go out in the cold and utilize it. When 70% of the time it's not accessible because it's too cold. So I don't know if $153,000 is really going to be worth a patio that you're not going to use because it's too cold.
I should probably know this, but I don't. Is this the only one of these, or would they be one in the middle school section also?
There is only one. It
And
is
this is a
located in the
combined-
center because it's off.
Oh,
the-
this is a combined faculty, middle and high?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's the dining
Got it. Okay.
room, not the lunch,
I
not the
was worried
workers.
about a fight. Okay.
And 153 would be in addition to the base budget, right?
It would be in addition to,
So it
so
would
the,
be, because it's an alternate.
correct. It's in addition to all the numbers we've shared with you today. It's not, but it hasn't been incorporated in. None of the alternates were incorporated in to the budget numbers we've shared thus far. And I'd like to just give you a couple other things, like that particular item is not a motion or is not a part of the motions that I prepared for this evening. But there are some that are part of the motions that are for the trades to be released. Structural steel was released last time. I believe actually miscellaneous metals is not on this list, so it's not part of this motion, that terrace. The alternates that are included in tonight's decisions, there's a couple more, so I wanted to just toss them out. One is a extended warranty on the roof. So our alternate B1 is to go from a 20-year roof warranty to a 30-year warranty. It moves the material that the membrane is made out of from a 60 mil to an 80 mil, and it improves the flashing details. That's how they get the better warranty. The value of that is $200,000. So as I release the roofing contractor, it's just easier for me, frankly, if I incorporate it in his contract. I don't have to issue a change order later. That one, you have a little time you can defer on. The other one that's on this list is the greenhouse. That one I'm really being selfish because there's 5 trades involved. I'd have to issue 5 change orders if you didn't make the decision tonight. And the greenhouse, if you recall, is right now there's a breakout space in the corridor area where it's a breakout space. You can educate there. What the greenhouse does is it provides a large skylight and it segregates an area off that corridor as a contained space and provides additional features. The floor becomes resinous. There's casework in there to support greenhouse activities. It's also a good buy for you because a couple of the trades didn't properly price that. And so you get it at a reduced rate. Right. So you get the ad cost for the greenhouse is $95,917. Again, I just want to
That
impress on you, that's
includes
just
plumbing?
selfish, that I wouldn't have to issue change orders. I don't have a schedule constraint on making that decision tonight. we have to make a decision whether to accept, reject, or defer. But you can certainly defer without scheduling that.
As you remember, we deferred the lightning last meeting.
Right. Because again, I'm not up against the time clock on that particular item. So for the motions that you have in front of you, those decisions will be in play, and I wanted to put those three numbers out so that you had them in making your decisions this evening.
While I think the terrace is great, I would use it 10 months out of the year. So third month, I might be out there by myself. But I think the greenhouse is more important for programming. And I would rather not lose the greenhouse or have the ability to have the greenhouse over the terrace. That's my personal feeling. Although I like both of them. But the greenhouse is more important, I think, for program.
And to remind you, all of these items are outside of what the budget that we've given you today. You know, which again, where we were last time, we each take a $500,000 hit on our contingencies. We've picked up about 340 grand since that point. But you know, to get to a balanced budget, we're still struggling to grind out these items. Find other places where you don't lose program.
So if we did, let me just explain something. The terrace could be on a separate motion. The other two we can do as a deferred motion.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, the terrace is not included in this motion. I was gonna have to ask for a separate motion to accept or reject that particular item. So what we have in front of you is the list of trades that we vetted. To give you again an overview, we've gone through scope reviews with about 25, potentially 24, 25 contractors. I have 5 left. I'm interviewing 6 contractors between today and when I'll be finished with that process next week on Friday. At that point, all of your trade packages will be firm cost, and we'll be moving into generating the formal document that is our ONG's guaranteed maximum price to this group. So that's what I'm doing, as well as we're issuing contracts off of the motions that were approved 2 weeks ago. We're getting those people engaged. I'll give you an overview of more stuff, but I think we should probably stick with the motion just to move that forward or stay on agenda.
You want to do the terrace and those after?
Well, as we bring this forward, if the motion is read as provided in your documents.
The first motion is the building committee because it recommends to the Board of Ed and City Council.
You know, I failed to tell you there was a couple of alternates. Actually, I think there's 1, 2 alternates that we did. There should be more. Oh, there's 4 alternates that we are right in the motion making recommendation. And those are ones that we've worked with Ed and Mario and with Slam that we feel is in the best interest of the overall project budget. And I wanted to just touch on those before you, so you understood them as you read through the motion. So under bid package 2.8 aluminum, there was quite a few alternates listed there. What we're recommending is alternate B6, which is fresh. Is that the one I have to start with? Because that's the hardest one, the operable windows. There's a significant saving. The savings rate, I wasn't prepared for that. 188 comes to mind. In addition to the 188,000, there is about a $40,000 savings in the HVAC BMS system, because with operable windows, as soon as the window opens, you have to tell the HVAC system not to listen to its sensors and to shut down. So we do think that that's a significant amount of savings. We don't, that's, I know, debatable in different opinions on that subject, but that's one that I carried in the motion. Alternate B7 is a savings because
So
Yeah.
B6 is non-operable windows.
you're accepting Or you are
Rejecting the alternate.
rejecting the alternate.
Oh, no.
No, I'm sorry, you're
Accepting
accepting
the
the
alternate.
deduct alternate to provide fixed windows.
Okay, so do we need in the motion, do we need deduct in there at all? The word deduct alternate? Does that matter?
It's an
Well,
alternate
as-
deduct.
As written, the alternate is
Is a.
eliminate all
Yeah.
exterior aluminum operable windows. So by accepting that language.
Right.
By accepting, eliminating all operable windows, you're getting a deduct alternate.
Is the 188 coming off the bottom line? Again, the same budget, or is that?
That's the other good point to make, is that we've carried the 188 in the figures we've described for you previously.
So
It's
in
not
this
gonna change.
nine-
that. That's why they're already in here.
In this 9,135, it includes,
No, the contract amount that's listed here doesn't include the alternate amount.
okay,
So when I do the contract, I'll write the, the values into the contract. But for your understanding is the total budget. When we gave you the numbers, 500,000 here from 500,000 there, we accounted for or already have included that deduct for that money. So if it was not to be accepted, we'd have another $188,000 hurdle
gotcha.
to try to get past.
So when we present this to the city council, are you going to have like an explanation of what alternate B6
Yeah,
is? Like with it, so that they understand?
I could, I mean, the people on the council, I think, are more relying on this group to make those decisions.
Kind of,
But we can elaborate on the motion if you like.
not elaborate, but just have the backup with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
An explanation.
Yeah, so,
Summary explanation.
yeah, so
So
what,
just bring a copy of the alternate section in the spec,
yeah,
which has a description. of the
Yeah, I think-
alternate.
that would be
keep
great.
it simple, tell them what it is. what it's worth.
Right, right.
Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between the operable and the inoperable windows and what would be lost if we accepted this?
I can.
Thanks.
So we have right now provided in the base bid, one operable window unit in each classroom. And because of safety reasons, there's a limitation on the amount that a window can open in a school. And so those windows would open 4 inches. And they're an awning window. So they're fixed, they're closed in this position and then they awning out like that. So if it were raining, the rain would not come into the classroom if someone forgot to close their window, for example. So that's why we like awnings. But it only opens 4 inches.
How large is the window? Like how wide?
3 to 4 feet.
Yeah, I'm gonna say around 3.6.
So it would never, ever function as an emergency egress. It couldn't.
That is correct, and there is no emergency egress required out of multi-story, second, third, fourth, fifth, yeah.
And one other thing is, the whole length of the 3-foot window doesn't open, correct? Is it on?
Yes.
Is the whole thing done?
Right, the whole thing does.
It's like 3.5
I mean, let's say
wide,
there's an
maybe
inch and a
more.
half and an inch and a half on each side, so.
So you get a good solid 2 feet there.
Oh,
So for
3
those that
feet.
can see it, that's pretty consistent. The windows that you have here in this structure are very similar. We don't have panes, but that lower section of the window may vent.
Brian has a.
Brian's got a question.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding. If the vote goes that way, there would be no fresh air coming into the classrooms. The windows just wouldn't open at all.
Okay, so you're correct that there would not be an operable window, but there is plenty of fresh air coming into the building. We have ventilation air separate from your heating and your cooling system. There is I'm not the mechanical engineer, so I can't remember,
DOAS.
but, well, no, I'm thinking, what's the air changes per hour that's required?
Those
It's
are
so
code driven
much.
now,
It's
and they've
code-driven.
increased since the COVID, introduction of COVID.
Right. And so fresh air is being introduced into every space in the building. And they are on occupancy sensors. So they read how much CO2 is in the room. It figures out that there's a person in the room now breathing and the ventilation kicks on.
Does the automated system that you mentioned, when you open that window, it then shuts off the system, the fresh air? Does that also mean fresh air is no longer circulating that room by opening the window?
No, good question. The fresh air system is separate from the chilled beams which provide the heat. And cooling.
Radiant fans provide the heat, but
Well, the chilled beams do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
chill beams for, okay.
Like jumbo shrimp.
Yes. I know.
Okay.
I just had one quick one. So you mentioned that there's, would also be a deduct for, I don't know what the tax would be, 2.26 HVAC. Did we award that one already?
We awarded that one, so
So
We're
there, if we
chasing that one
change
as-
these windows, there'd be a negative change order for that as well. Do we have a rough idea of what the order of magnitude that would be?
about 40,000.
40,000? So all in, if we go to non-operable windows, really about 220. Right.
228, and the 40,000 is not on the list that we provided last week, so you will see a increase.
We're not obligated,
Oh, it is?
since we awarded that contract, we can do a negative change order for them?
Yes, we're gonna do a negative change order for all 87 of these ideas that we have.
Okay.
Outside of the alternates. In addition to the alternates. we have all the other ideas.
But to be
So that-
clear, the 188 and the 40, if we approve this, does not change our bottom line of the
It's
contingency.
consistent, right, it's been incorporated into the bottom line figures we've shared with you today. As has the next one, which is to utilize a different metal siding manufacturer that we saw as close, but not exactly the same. That's why it's $80,000 safer
So
or
it'd be 7.
less expensive. And that is alternate B7. And then alternate 11A and 11B are also items that we recommend and have incorporated in your budget. And those are the fins that come off of the mullions between the windows that provide some shading. Again, nice to have, benefits a little, but the savings values are just too big to ignore.
Right.
Was our feeling as we were putting the numbers together.
They're designed to provide sun shading for certain times of the day. Vertical in some areas is more beneficial and horizontal is more beneficial in other areas. So that's what we designed for. I think that the result of eliminating these might mean that the shades on the interior of the windows are pulled closed more often, just so that there's not glare or too bright. But I think the savings, like Dan mentioned, it's too great for us to ignore.
It's $64,000 for 11A and $61,000 for 11B.
So $120,000, and you already have what we call 3% coefficient shading, pull down shades in the interiors of all of the teaching spaces. So it's not an add. You already have those interior window shades anyway.
Can you see through?
You can see shadows, like they're perforated, the material is perforated. So you get 3% of the light in. It's not much.
Aren't the windows have film on them also? Is that
Not your typical
Not for
exterior
shading.
glazing, no.
not for shading? Okay.
We do have some windows that have a fritted pattern, like a sandblasted pattern. And that also is for daylighting so that you don't get a glare. In particular, those occur at the gymnasium clerestory windows. So if someone's playing a basketball game in the late afternoon and the sun's coming in, it's not gonna. So much.
Does removing them impact the cost of cooling the building if more sunlight, more heat is generated?
It would not impact the cost of heating and cooling to enough that we would suspect a
offset
need,
this.
yeah. But it might affect like the daylighting that we designed for
has a certain glare coefficient, so we were putting them in intentional locations to avoid glare. So like I said, the shades in the interior.
How much are the shades? Could we consider the fins and then doing the shades at a later date?
I think you're still gonna want the shades. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna speak for the teachers, but typically they like to have some room darkening and the ability to darken for certain video things or teaching. So I think we don't recommend losing the shades on the interior.
I couldn't tell you how much they were for the particular space, but 250,000 to shade the building, essentially all classrooms.
And the library. Teaching spaces.
Just want to say that we have fins in certain locations, but the shades still have to come down. It's not gonna prevent you from having to use the shades, especially if you're using the, the smart boards and everything like that to reduce the glare. Otherwise, depending on where you are in the room, you're not going to be able to see it.
Just feels like we're creating kind of a claustrophobic space. We're taking away the operable window. We're taking away the fin that's going to help them not need the shades as often. I don't know. I mean, I would much rather see us not build an 8-foot patio and keep these things in. I know it's not exactly cost equivalent, but some of these are already included, you had said. And we're really concerned
I
about
think
having
we're
people get fresh air.
recommending
We should let them have windows in our classrooms that open.
You don't accept any of them.
Yeah, it would really, I mean, to be candid, to add a terrace, Brian.
Just want to kind of echo what Jess was just saying. To take away the shade, which means that the blinds are going to be down a portion of the day and have no windows that open, just seems like a lot.
Oh, again, you will get a little bit of light through the shades, but I agree, I am a proponent of what we originally designed, but obviously we have a cost issue because of the bidding climate right now. Our estimate in June said we were on budget, and we're in a inflation time, and so now we're trying to make up for it without affecting your teaching spaces. And so I hope that we're navigating the recommendations as much as we can. We're really trying to do our best for the students.
I have to just, the extension of a window mullion, if it sticks out, 10 inches further than what you would expect, it's not really providing you any type of shading. It's providing you some reduced amount of direct sunlight that comes into the space. So
Right.
just to the
glare
comments
control.
that it's,
glare
it creates a different environment. If you need to turn on your smart board, you're pulling your shades down. These things are really just picks up a little bit of solar gain.
But they're not functionless, right? I mean, they were recommended initially for a reason.
Absolutely.
So if you're not using
They
your
do
smart
cut-
board, you shouldn't have to have your shades drawn because that should take care of that glare that would otherwise impede.
That is
left,
true. I don't
right?
know any teacher who doesn't use their smart board, but I hope that there are times when
But not all
the
day.
sun is coming around, and one side of the building in the morning, you might need the shades drawn, but in the afternoon, you can raise the shades, and on the other side of the building, it's vice versa, right? So I really hope that people take advantage and are actively using the shades. Unfortunately, human nature is you close the shades because the sun was in someone's eyes and you never open them again. Happens in my office, oh, well, I just keep it drawn because it was in my eyes 3 days ago,
Well, but teachers don't even have their own classrooms, so it's not even like there's any one person responsible for those shades, and you're supposed to, now this is another thing you're supposed to keep track of.
Well, I'm just hoping that they're using them in an active way so that if they can let in the natural light, I hope they will.
Question about the windows. So there's one window per room.
No, there are a lot of windows per room.
No, one window per room that would open. Is it one window per
One
room?
pane of one window.
Per room. So for 240,000, that's the 4 inches by 3.5 feet. That's 3.5
Yes.
feet, so it's 4 inches. Right. $240,000 savings.
But as you say, there's fresh air coming in.
Yes,
at all
Yeah, no,
times.
your BMS will, your building
management system.
management system, your temperature control would be much happier if we didn't have operable.
Right. And then that,
It adds that level of complication to the
and
process.
that piece that extends to help with the
Glare control.
glare, it's only at a certain time when the sun hits it. So it could be that when the sun is in a different place, the glare still could be like under it or over or whatever. You know what I mean? It's not.
Well, it's not a one-stop shop, right? Like
Right.
the glare control is to avoid the glare at the worst time of day for that particular window in a particular season. Because
Right.
in the summer, your sun is up much higher than in the winter, so it's not a one-stop shop. It's just the recommendation of our energy consultant and our own experience of what side of the building, a certain time of day, you might need the most glare control. That's not
Provides
to
a benefit.
say, you still, not to say that you still wouldn't supplement it with the interior shades.
Just like you would at home. I mean, your sun is moving east to west and you've got mullions. Again, I just stare at the physical example up there. And if you have a 12-inch extension, when that sun is at 80, 80 degrees, that shade is going to provide some limited amount of direct sunlight. It's going to block direct sunlight. As soon as the sun moves beyond it, it's coming in. But to be clear, there is a small energy advantage to not allowing that extra sun into the space. That's why they were put in the documents.
Right.
And they look cool.
If non-operable windows are more efficient and there's fresh air ventilating from the building, was the purpose of having that one pane in each room kind of just for aesthetics and psychological, like, oh, you know what I mean?
Right, it's not for aesthetics. It doesn't really change the look of the building at all, but it is, in all of our human nature,
Right.
that we feel a little self-control, control of our environment by being able to push that mullion over 4 inches. And so in a perfect world, I would love it. And I know that,
But environmentally.
but environmentally, our engineers would tell you, keep the windows closed.
Well, engineers think differently from other people.
They're thinking of the building efficiency and the efficiency of the system that they're paying a lot of money for.
But to Glenn's point, with the terrace, I mean, late October through early March, you wouldn't open them anyway. Very small periods of time where you might be like, oh, let's open the window.
Right,
Let's open one pane.
right.
Yeah,
You're
assuming
not getting
that
the
the heating
benefit.
system works the way it's supposed to.
Assuming, yes.
Because there are times when a room gets so hot. I mean, this is going to be the perfect system. I know we've solved all problems. So this building will never have an overheated room. But sometimes those windows are open. I'm old enough to remember when you go down the street, go past the school, that was when we had even coal furnaces sometimes. The windows are open in the middle of January.
Yes.
Just because, because this.
Well, I
People
mean-
are better now. I'm not saying to go out back.
Yes. And we like to think that the building management system is going to work perfectly. But what temperature I feel comfortable at is not the same temperature that everyone else feels comfortable at. So there's never a possibility of making everyone comfortable. I mean, my husband and I cannot agree on a temperature in our own home. So I'm sure that's the case for the hundreds of people who will be in the school. Some will be perfectly comfortable and some will be cold.
When this building was built, it obviously has an air conditioning system in it. And we used to have to make announcements all the time to close your windows, the air conditioning is on, or don't open your windows, or, because it would throw off. And in the winter, you're right, John, sometimes some teachers run hotter than
They're
others.
stuffy.
They'd open the windows in the winter and that would throw off this. So it was a constant balancing of heat versus air conditioning, windows open and windows closed. Quite frankly, I'm sitting here thinking it would have been great to have all inoperable windows because then we wouldn't have had that going back and forth all the time.
Right.
With the exception of convenience for Dan, we don't have to make any decisions now except for the terrace, right?
That's correct.
But we
But
tip
know
our
that
hats to
if
the
we-
convenience to Dan factor as well, for some of the easy.
Well, that, and it also helps us, says we are looking at your budget, you know, we'd like to nail some of the items down that we want to, that are big ticket items. If we keep deferring the decisions, we're in a budget, we don't know quite where we're at yet.
Right, and it might come down to all the ones that we're deferring, we can't have any of them.
Good, it could go the other way.
Or
I
it
mean,
could
right now,
force
you're
us
already,
to-
we've already accommodated these $250,000 worth of, actually probably almost $400,000 in items that we're identifying right here into the numbers that we've told you. So if these are sitting out there aside from that, we have to find another $400,000.
And remember, we haven't started construction yet.
Right, right.
You know,
And if we don't get bids on these included, it could be higher the next time. You go to bid. or
These
you only
numbers,
bid?
the cost of these items is fixed
Okay,
for a 9-month period. So you can accept these alternates up to 9 months.
Theoretically.
You're down to about 8 because it's 9 months from when the trade is awarded. That's how it's contractually written.
and all of this, all of these on this page for the motion are already in our budget.
Not all, the ones that are, if you read through, there's, I mean,
Except for the deferred.
the one that, if you look at the second motion, it says for roofing, I have reject, defer. A decision needs to be made, whether to take action on spending the 200,000 for the 30-year warranty or defer action on the 30-year warranty.
Okay.
That one is. Did we take that?
No.
We didn't take that. So that one's not in our budget.
It's an adult.
No, I mean, in our spreadsheet.
So, you know, we're just coming out of the time when we had pandemic and we were opening windows. With the ventilation system that you're talking about, take care of that.
Right, yes, so they have increased the fresh air requirements and,
Right.
and the filter system. They're called MERV filters.
That's
what it
was.
Yeah,
We did know
some
this.
of those. So you will have an excellent system in the new building that, you know, is of the standard that is recommended.
What
So-
more filter would be on?
I will check for you, like
It's
the
a
number
MERV 8.
8.
I don't think it's a 13.
Okay.
So then that would become like a supply
Minimum.
item going forward for the schools, not for after all the schools are built, you'd have to keep changing filters. and
they're
such.
always. constantly-
Yeah.
Well,
you're
that's
changing
a
filters
maintenance
either
item.
on
Yeah, it
6
would be a
months item
maintenance
or
item,
for annual.
But that's like what we do now.
Right, right.
And I'm sorry, just 2 quick questions. So I might be a little confused. All the ad deducts are not in our budgeted number. Is that correct?
It's not correct. I apologize. Earlier I said that the ones that I've identified here, or specifically the ones for bid package 2.08, to take the operable windows out, to utilize the alternate manufacturer of the metal siding, and to take the brackets or mullion extensions out are included. So where you see that is in this backup,
You have it in your,
in your packet.
Where's that number?
There's a potential savings.
So B6 and B7,
B6, B7, 11A, and 11B
are in this.
are incorporated on the budget numbers that we provide.
they're in the budget.
They're in the budget.
So then, if you reject, then that money that comes off.
It adds money.
It adds money. Yeah, it
6,
adds
7,
money.
11,
Bottom line.
Right, it goes in the opposite direction.
If they're here.
Oh, okay.
Want to start with the first one, the masonry?
Yeah, that's a great idea. There's no alternates on that one.
No. So you see the motion, which says to approve the recommendation by ONG Industries to award the following phase 2 packages to the lowest qualified responsible bidder and make the recommendations to the Board of Ed and City Council to execute the approval to award letters stating the same. The packages and contractors recommended for them are the following. So the first one is, you want to do that one?
Am I allowed to read a motion?
Well, I just read it,
Bid package 2.0.
2.0,
2.04.
right? That's the masonry. Do we accept that at the bid price of $5,820,000?
That's his first one.
Who seconds it? Donna? Remember, we're making a motion to recommend to the Board of Ed, City Council. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can we just call the motion for the Board of Ed now also?
Oh,
For
okay,
the
yes,
masonry, and that way we can
correct. Sure,
talk
thank you.
each of them.
So this is,
So entertain the same motion for the Board of Education for the masonry only at this point.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
John and Kathy.
the next one is the roofing, the Silktown Roofing, the amount of $4,089,000, and reject or defer decision on alternate B1. And reject the deferred decision on alternate B2. And just go over B1 and B2.
So the decision would be to reject alternate B1, which is an add of $200,000 for an extended or a 30-year roof warranty. And then the second alternate B2 relates to the greenhouse and their component of work for the greenhouse, which is about $11,000 for the skylight for the greenhouse. So I guess you might want to have a conversation of whether you all want to buy a greenhouse or
Yeah.
defer the decision.
Yeah.
You can defer the-
Okay, because you said reject.
No, I said it's
Consider both, and that's
reject
where
or
we kind of want
defer.
Okay.
to
So we have
get a
to
consensus
decide which
before we
we
make
want.
the
Yeah.
motion.
Thank you. So we have a greenhouse at the high school currently, and I'm wondering how much is it utilized?
It's been utilized a lot more since we brought in a teacher last year, and she has the kids using it for at least a couple of her classes. So it's being used.
Yeah, those things are very staff dependent. If you have an
Right.
enthusiastic teacher, it'll be full of kids and plants and the other things that happen in the greenhouse.
Yep.
And if you don't.
Right.
you have to-
Yeah, it wasn't used for
Right.
a couple of years.
So what we would reject alternate B1, which is the 200,000.
That'd be great.
And defer alternate B2, which is the greenhouse.
Which is 11.
If we defer it, do we still get to take advantage of the cost oversights in some of the bids, or would we have
You
to
do.
approve the greenhouse
You
now?
you
to
have
take
9 months
advantage
to
of it?
make that decision without changing cost.
8 months now.
8 months for some of the trades, 9 months for the ones that are.
Wait, I think so. Yeah, originally I thought you said because of whatever deal they would give us, the greenhouse would be 95,000, but then you just said.
Right, because it's in 2 different trades.
Yeah, this is part of it.
Only
Right.
11 is roofing.
Okay,
Right.
it's
Eleven is
roofing.
right. There's 5
So
trades.
this is the
There's 5
thing.
trades.
And the regular warranty is 20 years?
Right.
Okay,
The base contract. Warranty
So-
is 20 years.
right. So 200 grand gets you another 10 years. Actually changes the material though.
It changes the material from
Right.
the 60 to.
Right, not only a longer warranty, but a thicker roofing product.
So we're rejecting alternate B1 and deferring alternate B2. Pat made that motion. We have a second? Armand seconds it. Any other questions for the building committee? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Opposed? Board of Ed?
Okay, entertain the same motion to the Board of Education. Someone on the Board of Education want to make that motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Jesse Glenn.
The next one is package 208 aluminum entrances, storefronts, and the curtain wall, the Cherry Hill glass in the amount of $9,135,950. And accept alternate B6, which is again,
To eliminate operable windows,
okay. Alternate B7,
utilize an alternative manufacturer for the metal siding.
alternate B8,
Defer decision on B8, which is the interior security glazing.
okay, so we defer that one, right?
I thought it was important to the committee, so I thought you'd have time on the decision. Take your time on that decision.
Alternate B11A,
Is the vertical?
Yeah.
That's the vertical one?
I think it's horizontal and then.
I'm sorry, it's horizontal shade, sunshades
and B11B
is vertical, is to delete vertical sunshades.
and defer all the remaining alternates at this time. Again, we are accepting B6, accepting B7, defer B8, accept B11A, accept B11B, and defer all the other items at this time.
That's right.
Have a motion on that? Is there a second? Second, Pat. Further discussion?
Just for building committee, right?
Excuse me?
Correct.
You're just asking for discussion for
That's a
building.
building.
So there's no real benefit to deferring B6. The operable windows, we're gonna make a decision on that today. That's a solid recommendation. Never mind, I'm talking myself through it in my head the last half hour. We're
Understandably,
good.
understandably confusing.
I'm good.
Yeah. It's just.
We
I'm
did
saying
it
it's
out
a
loud.
big
Those
decision.
questions.
Yeah,
It
it
is a
is.
big
I thought we were leaving some things to defer in that bid package, but I'm good.
There's all the other ones that you haven't decided on. There's,
There's a lot.
You would
there's
discuss that,
B
yeah.
12 through 15 or 19.
Just one thing, so if we defer on that, do we have to note here that we also gonna have a deduct on 2.26 HVAC?
That the HV that will pursue the additional savings through the BMS system.
Okay.
package.
Do we have to note that in our motion, or is that just a given?
It's a given along with the rest of the items on that list.
Okay, so that's the building committee vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board of Ed?
Okay, entertain the same motion for the Board of Education.
Second,
Discussion? Go ahead, yes.
I'm very much opposed to removing the operable windows. I think I think that for that amount, I mean, like, I get that it's a lot of money, but the amount of time that people are spending in this building, I mean, you just heard from the principal of the school that he shares that concern. And we're talking about a long time, and to have those shades drawn too, I don't know. I think I don't think it's a good idea. I think that it's very stifling. It's very enclosing. And there may be other things that I haven't thought about. Like, I don't know what would happen if there's a bad odor in the room for some reason, if the HVAC is going to clear that. I mean, I'm opposed to it on principle because I think it's important to have the ability to open a window. Just generally speaking,
The
but
the
I do-
HVAC will exchange the air every
Mhm.
so often per hour.
and it was only one window, right? that was
It's only
comfortable?
six.
One
It's
pane
Right,
of
one
one
pane,
window.
one window
4
that
inches.
went 4 inches.
right, but it's 3 feet long,
Yes.
Well,
so it's not
Yeah.
like
But, and you said it's at an angle.
It's at an angle.
yeah, connects you to the outside world, makes you feel.
I think it's more psychological. I don't
It
think
is
you're gonna get, I don't
Yeah.
think you're gonna get a lot of
You-
ventilation through there.
You are not gonna get any ventilation through there to speak of, because it's an 800 square foot room, you know, but it is a psychological, nice feeling to have control.
But
It's
it has to
just
be more
not,
than psychological if the HVAC system gets annoyed when you open a window.
well, then
Yeah.
it turns off the HVAC, so.
Yeah,
you-
so it
yes.
can't
There
be
is some air,
significant, or it wouldn't do it, it wouldn't react.
Well,
Correct me if I'm wrong, the HVAC is reacting to the window being open, not to what's occurring.
that's correct.
But it's an important enough event so that the device
And I'll
takes.
explain why. It's because the chilled beams are sensitive to moisture. And so if there is humidity
being brought into the room from the exterior, it could cause condensation on the beams that are within the room, and they could drip. And so we are trying to avoid that. And so, yes, there's a possibility that the humidity from the outdoor air, which is uncontrolled in comparison to the fresh air that's coming in through the mechanical system, would affect the chill beams.
Okay, so we can deal with the humidity that exhaled breath creates. It just can't deal with the humidity of southern air coming up from.
There's no way to
There's-
monitor
there's
that.
too
There's nowhere
much-
to meter them.
Right.
So whereas when you have a humid condition outside, we're metering it where we're bringing in fresh air from the outside on the roof in the air handler, drying the air out before it comes into the space. When you have a wild card, like an open window, it just makes it harder on that chill beam to know what's there, and it can sweat. So that's why it does simplify the system.
And that's why you get savings on the HVAC.
I want to speak during the Board of Ed portion.
200 and how much?
Savings is 228,000.
I am. Fiona, could I speak during the Board of Ed portion? Just a simple question. Well, I mean, is this a typical design of today's schools?
I would say that 50% of our schools don't have operable windows right from the get-go.
Uh-huh.
And another 50% put them in as an alternate because of this very discussion.
Yeah.
That,
That's not helping.
Say the last
Sorry.
school I built
50-50.
did not have operable windows.
um,
The school prior to that did.
same, well, opposite, actually, the one that I completed a few years ago, no operable windows at all, and the one that's under construction right now.
But the 4 inches the code. You can't have
4 inches,
anything
yeah,
bigger.
that's it.
That, and that does impact, that did impact my decision to go along with the windows, just because opening it for the, which it kind of actually, I'm not comfortable with it, you know what I mean? But the fact that they only opened 4 inches
I know.
angle.
If you could open a window and there's a screen there,
Yeah.
I can understand this, but that.
Right, yes, if you
4
could
inches,
open the
right,
windows
4
like the old days, yeah.
And especially an awning window.
And on it, yeah, depending on where you're in the room, you may not even.
No,
see
and
that
if the
that's
wind's
open.
blowing directly at the curtain wall.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's gonna.
It's not gonna come back.
Well, where you have a sill, you're really just opening it like the width of the sill.
Right.
So it's down opening, it's not opening this way.
No.
Correct, no, it's not. That would catch the rain, you wouldn't want it.
Yeah, different story if it was a with a screen.
So I think what the board needs to consider is, because we can't approve anything that goes over the budget. So if the board isn't willing to entertain the windows that don't open, or that open, or that don't open, then we would need to determine what other measures we're willing to cut
Right.
to accommodate the windows. I think that's where the struggle always is, because I think we all want all of this stuff. It's just,
No, operable windows were in the original number.
Operable windows are accounted for. We've accepted all of those in the budget information that we
So
provided.
operable numbers was in our original budgeted number.
In the original, in the budget that we did in May, yes.
So
before the bid.
it's not like, we're not voting on something that's gonna cost us more. It's gonna cost
Well,
us
it
less.
is because the bids came in more. That's why they're making these adjustments.
Right.
Because before it went out to, the estimates that were in that budget package were before it went out to bid.
Okay,
The problem now is the bids came in higher than the projections. So we have to find economies somewhere else to still stay within the total budget amount.
so
for
what's
each
that
of these
number?
items.
What's what?
What was the total number of like,
How much?
of the bids that came in thus far? Like, how much more were they than the original estimates? And when did you say it was, March?
6,804,000.
804,000.
So we're negative 6.8 million.
No,
You're
no,
over
no.
by,
Let's see.
Thank you.
and we're trying
Yeah,
to
we're in the red.
recoup
Yeah.
that.
that's why we took contingency. That's why we reduced FF&E. That's why we reduced,
And then we found
Technology.
$3.5 million in savings as of
Yeah.
last month. And
Yeah, we're getting there.
350.
We're getting, and just a note, is Farmington's first round of numbers pretty much mirror ours.
Yeah.
As
What
far
did
as
they
how
do
much
for
they're-
windows? They make their decision on windows operable or non-operable?
I'm not
I
the
don't
designer
know.
on.
No.
Yeah, I'm not intimate enough with that particular project to know whether they had operable windows or not.
They're still fighting over the other building.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a consideration, is that we couldn't just turn it down. We would have to then discuss what would be an option to replace, to backfill that
Right.
cost savings that would no longer be a cost.
Well, that's right, and we're working hard to identify other areas of savings, and that's what the list is that you received last week, that looks like this, you know, and a lot of those decisions have to.
Well, wouldn't it be, just for sake of clarity, it wouldn't be up to the Board of Education to say what, where, like, 'cause I don't know where else you can save because I'm not a builder and I'm not familiar with building products and the specs of the building's enough, right? Like, we could request a list of additional options and then make our decision based on that.
Well, I think that's what they're provided, the option.
Yeah, in your packet is the list of options.
That's their suggestion. So if we're not
Is that in this
accepting
week's
their
packet too?
suggestion.
That's in
Yeah.
this week's packet. Yeah.
Right, so that we could say we want to hold on to the operable windows and look at some of these other ones, right?
Again, to try to put some understanding to the budget. Right now, we're telling you that 2 weeks ago, we hit a balanced budget. In order to hit a balanced budget, we're going to accept all of these potential value engineering items. And we're going to take $1 million combined out of our contingencies. Since last week, we did continue our efforts, and now the number is $345,000 more that we're able to find in savings. But when we come to you with these items, they're non-programmatic. They're not a decision like opening a window. There's something that to most end users, you wouldn't know. You know, they're just not something. There's going to be some tough ones that'll be in here too, that you'll have a difficulty. For an example, we have a pretty high-end sound AV for a couple of conference rooms. We've already spoken to Ally about, can we remove these? It was nice to have. Can we put them on this list? Now they're on the list. And again, you make the decision at that point. Each one of these will become a decision.
None of them.
Just not as sensitive as the others. We don't have any money to buy at this point. As Fiona has said, if we don't chase the 228,000, there's another 228,000 that we need to find elsewhere in the project to hit a balanced budget.
Moving forward with that motion, or?
Does anyone else have any discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor?
Hi.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Motion carries.
Next one, bid package 2.09A acoustical to J&J Acoustics LLC in the amount of $1,913,637. Have a motion? Second, Robin.
Saying I was like,
Sorry.
Robin,
Robin was second, who's first?
Robin was first,
Robin
Patty was
was
second.
first, sorry. Thank you. Pat.
Pat. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
What about?
Entertain the same motion for the Board of Education.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Hi.
Johnny, Kathy?
Just let you know also, when Mario and I are sitting in on these discussions, I'll tell you, probably all of the contractors have been very cooperative. They've added some things that they missed. They're taking care of it. So I think we're lucky in the contractors we have. What do you think, Mario?
Seems to be in those better than that.
They want the job.
Yeah.
They want to see the job go forward. You know, frankly, it's a good environment out there for bidding, but the contractor who wants to put this project in motion, they put enough energy and effort into getting it to move so that, they're willing to To give.
It's a
It's
big
a good
effort
thing.
for them to bid it. It's 960 drawings to look through.
Mm.
And to spend time finding your piece of the pie and how much money.
They like having the
Significant.
backlog too.
Yeah.
You know, they know the job moves forward for 2.5
And,
years. they'll be
and they
busy.
know that the cooperation with the city, the building committee and ONG, they get their checks right away. Last Friday, I
does
was
tell them.
away, I think I was away or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to come home early. And I personally dropped off the check today on a Friday at 1 o'clock. They did the pot, they deposited. I always call Fuji on Wednesday. You get the check, we got the check. So it's really a good way of doing with the city. Like I will drop off the bills tomorrow, pick them up next Friday, drop them off at ONG's that day, put it in the bank, send it.
We're still in the honeymoon.
No.
We are. We'll be this way all the way through. But right now, we've got their attention and they're very, accommodating to all of our requests.
Yeah, and so. Okay, next big package, 209D drywall to BPDC incorporating the amount of 14,985,000. Have a motion to add. Second,
I'll second.
second, Armand. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Fiona?
And send the same motion for the Board of Education.
So move.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Johnny,
Unanimous.
Okay, next one, bid package 2.09F flooring, in the amount of 4,463,000, and bid package 2.09T tiling in the amount of 598,000 to R&B ceramic tile and flooring covering for a combined total contract of 5,061,000. Have a motion to approve that. Donna? Second. Pat?
Can I just ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Because I had concerns about the differential between the two bids and whether this low bidder was including the jump packs for the sound and the flooring.
He
Was
did.
that,
He included it to the extent that the documents showed on bid day. So yes, both trades did.
okay, so we'll have that in the school.
There's the $1 million question.
So you're
So-
gonna have it where it's needed.
One of the items that we found in our investigation of cost was that the specification described the location for where that jump pad was required in all spaces. Virtually all spaces. What the intent of
raised.
SLAM's documents really intended was where there's no ceiling below, where there's no acoustical ceiling below, is the only location where you need that pad. So in the list of items.
So if I can explain what we're talking about.
Yeah.
The flooring is an LVT flooring. It's luxury vinyl tile. It has a standard thickness. And it's just similar to the vinyl tile that you see in schools throughout. It just happens to be a plank version instead of squares. And the jump jacks underlayment is an additional material that would be placed below that flooring on top of the concrete. And it reduces the sound of your heels walking across the floor for the people below. That material is needed only at rooms where there's no ceiling like this. And there's a space above you with the LVT. That happens to occur above the construction tech because they don't have a traditional acoustic tile ceiling. It occurs above the engineering lab because, again, they don't have a traditional acoustic ceiling. But the vast majority of your classes have a traditional acoustic ceiling tile, which negates the need for the jump jacks. So we negotiated or talked with the low bidder. Both
both bids that came in included jump jacks everywhere. And we had to make a correction. We only need it at the rooms that don't have one of these ceilings when you have a floor above.
So to Fiona's first question, yes, both both
Carried.
bidders were qualified and we checked that specific item. And then we went back to the low bidder and we said, okay, how much money can we save if we don't put it everywhere? So included in what we expect to move forward with in the list of savings that we found, that's a big one at 307,000.
And
I
that's
just
in
want to
this
state
list.
for the record, 'cause all the schools that I've went to, that they've said that's been a problem with the sound. That's why I'm worried about it. As buildings are going up instead of out, they're becoming noisier. So my concern was just the instructional ability with that number of floors, and can we contain the noise to the floors if we eliminate all of those?
Yeah, so I mean, we're very confident in our acoustic consultant's review of our design. And so we're comfortable that we're meeting all the standards required for sound. So in the state of Connecticut, you have to have an STC rating between classrooms and between classroom and corridor of certain STC ratings. And ceiling to room above.
So did the contractor amount include your addendum amount of 300?
No,
No.
we have to set, we have
So
to
it's
do
the
that in a
bid is
second
actually gonna
step.
be 300 less.
Correct.
Well, I'm gonna issue the contract for the bid amount, and then he's gonna get a proposal request to change the contract documents to limit the areas to the areas we've spoken to. And then he's gonna give me a deduct proposal, and we're gonna take 307,000 off that value.
And we only asked the lowest bid number for the change.
You're actually correct. I did not go back to the other guy. I
How
confirmed he
far
had
off
it,
was
but I
the other
didn't go
guy?
back to see what that secondary number would be.
But the
Probably
difference,
comparable. And again.
the difference between the two bidders was not so
Yeah.
close, so tight that, right?
Well,
I think it
with the
depends. If
suggestion
one
is that
bidder
maybe
had
we'll
the jump
move it
jacks to the whole
maybe
building. and the
400,000
other
from
would make it
from bidder number 2.
But would that make them low?
No.
It would not make them the low bidder, even if they 400,000, so 300,000.
So there's a big difference between their initial bids.
Correct.
The building committee has a motion by Donna, second by Pat, to approve the flooring, the R&B ceramic, the combined bid of $5,060,000. Favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Opposed. Okay,
Okay, same motion for the Board of Education
no,
to approve the flooring as presented.
now you're doing the board of ed.
We have a motion from the Board of Ed.
So,
Second,
I'll second.
discussion.
Glenn and Kathy.
Glenn.
So Fiona, your concern is that it's not gonna do a good enough job of camping on the sound if they take all of that stuff out. What is that? Do you see a cost saving somewhere else that?
No.
But again, that's a decision that this committee will be asked to make. We take that $300,000 deduct in a different decision. This decision is just to award to the apparent well qualified bidder.
It's not to do.
Correct. It's not to do the deduct. Once we vet that change is of such a magnitude that this whole committee needs to take action.
And you're gonna have to take action on most of the items on this list.
Some of them are small, but
Yeah, I mean, what's the threshold? 10?
no, 50.
50.
So anything that's higher than $50,000 savings.
No, it's 0 to 50 is Mario and I.
Yeah.
50 to 100 is 3 out of the 5.
Okay.
Anything over that goes to the.
So just to make the award to.
Correct.
correct.
Right, but then people may want to take a vote. Because if it's just to award it to that person.
Yeah.
Then you're not talking about the savings and
No.
what you're doing with it.
Yeah, but
Right,
that-
that's a
Correct. The
separate
motion
vote.
is simply what's read off the document.
So I don't know.
well, it passed with the building committee, it passed, even though Fiona was
Right. it's passed.
opposed, it still
Yeah,
passed.
It still passed.
So for the Board of Ed, you're just focusing on the contract number, not the whole jump jacks thing.
Not the savings that.
Right, that's going,
Just-
that's coming
just
down the line.
The awarding of the.
Right,
the bid.
correct.
Right, okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next one, bid package 2.11 food service equipment. So this is their name, 11,400 Incorporated. It's in the amount of 1,640,000. Have a Pat, a second? Donna? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Board of Ed?
Same motion to the Board of Ed.
Second,
Now, let's,
Any discussion?
let's see, it's,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous?
The next one is bid package 2.27 communications to Electrical Power Solutions LLC in the amount of 2,719,200 and reject or defer decision on alternate B2.
You've already deferred on the previous bid package, so it's the greenhouse alternate.
Oh, okay, so we defer. Okay,
But we deferred the ceiling of the other one.
right, correct.
This is deferring the greenhouse itself.
Correct.
No,
This
this is,
is, this will be deferring the data jacks
Data jack.
associated with
Low voltage wire.
Correct.
communication wires associated with standalone.
so again, it's in the amount of 2,719,200 and deferred decision on alternate B2 at this time. Remember, B2 is the greenhouse, which has 5 different trades. We've done 2 of those trades so far. Right. Have a motion? Donna, second? Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Fiona?
Same motion to the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second,
Discussion? All those in favor?
aye,
Unanimous?
This is the same thing, B2 is the greenhouse.
Correct.
So we will bid package 2.28 security and safety to Ned Services LLC in the amount of 1,458,000 and defer decision on alternate B2 at this time. And B2 is the greenhouse, so we portion, so we've done 3 of the 5 trades.
This
Have a
is the
motion?
greenhouse itself.
No,
No.
Safety and security.
security system.
Have a
This
This
motion?
is
like-
electrical, now security.
Right,
Communication is not electrical.
Right.
Right,
Well,
it's just,
Specific.
it's the box to connect data.
So we're 3/5 of the way there.
yeah, right.
gotcha.
The other bits were last bid packages.
Oh, okay.
Donna? Yes, good.
Donna,
We'll be asking about.
have a second?
Whether or not you want that greenhouse.
I'll second.
Rob,
Robbie?
discussion, all in favor? Aye, opposed, okay.
Same motion to the Board of Education.
Same.
second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Glenn
Glenn
abstains.
abstains.
Oh, sorry, Glenn.
So John and Kathy.
The next item is phase 1 application and certificate of payment that you have. It's a total of $614,616. If you go through page 3, out of that, we're gonna award the whole, the amount, but out of that, Gucci gets 545,339, and ONG with their contract gets 69,277. This has gone through everybody to look at. Yeah, they're in.
Back of the package.
Sorry, I was lazy and did not staple these things together. So could I have a motion to approve $614,616 to O&G Industries? Pat? You have a second?
Second.
Donna? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Next one is 6C1, which is right after this. Two change orders. Get for them, I'll just go over them. The first one is the 51,124. That's the road improvement that we agreed to and so forth. Since it's over 50,000, Mario and I and Gary approved this. Again, if you go up there now, you can see the difference. It's what the big difference of moving that road.
Couple, 3 feet.
Yeah.
in a few.
Wait, which paper is that?
Yeah, what are we looking at?
This one right here. It's almost at the end.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
What's the PCO
Says
number?
proposed change order.
Proposed change order.
PCO 004.
Right, all four, it says Major Bessie Drive White.
Yep.
So this has been approved by Mario, myself, and Gary. Again, we spoke about this many times.
Yes, sure.
The S term. And we're working on it now, and I've been up there, Mario's been up there. We have two people directing traffic, and it was not funny. The first day that it was open, we had ambulances,
Yes, we had everything.
everything up there. He thought,
That could.
yeah, he thought that we did it on purpose. But it just so happened that they needed emergency service, you know. they
Yes.
needed it.
And it all worked. That's what was.
That's right.
And the big thing is
But
gonna
he
be,
thought
once
that
we
they-
get
that
snow
was did it on
added to
purpose.
there, we want to test.
Just to test it, so.
So then do we have to have anybody else, you, Mario? and-
Yes, we have to have the,
Okay, so everybody,
right. So could I have a motion to approve change order 04, Major Best Drive widening in the amount of 51,124. Pat, second,
Second.
Fiona. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next one is 01, which is the site light pole ground rods. City inspector required this. So Barry and I approved it for $5,336. Dan, you want to say something about this one?
Yep, the local inspector came out, and so the wire between all the light poles was capable of bringing ground back to the building, but the local official wasn't confident in that methodology, so he required a standalone ground rod at each of the new light poles that we put in at the parking area. Each pole now has a ground, directly to ground. Should one of your old poles fail, it wouldn't require that electricity to get back to the main building ground.
And what happens to them once we take that whole parking down? What happens to those?
All those light fixtures go in the trash can.
Oh,
Well,
They've been very good for you for the last 50 years. You're getting an extra 2 years out of it. Yeah, there was a little work trying to get to relocate all those older fixtures.
yeah, sure.
One additional small change is coming to replace a few parts, but they all work now.
So can I have a motion to approve $5,336, which is change order 1, the side light pole ground rods, which city inspector required.
We need to, or
Excuse me?
do we still need to do that?
Yeah, I don't. We already approved it.
Yeah.
You know, okay. I'm
It's
just
really, we want to make sure that the committee is
It's
aware of
information.
all the money, you know. and
So the committee received it.
Okay, thank you.
Going forward, there may be up to 15 or so per month on an average, would be unusual. And just, there'll be a list of them so that you guys can see what the money is. You guys are
15
betting.
change orders, you mean, not 15 of
No, 15 of
Those.
those.
But change orders.
We hope
yes.
there are.
Right, so I'm issuing to this group through Mario and Ed and additional members if necessary, proposed change orders. So in this particular month,
But it's
2
not the
were issued.
rods. There's not gonna be 15 more rods.
No.
No.
Change
That's
orders,
right.
you're talking
That's a
about.
one and done there for the rides.
Okay, thank you.
They're installed, and now
And
they're-
we're only gonna make decisions on things that,
That is small.
well, as small and need to be done
Right away.
We needed to start that.
Yeah. Okay, next one is payment of invoices. You have, I have one that were in the packet and one I just gave you. The one that was in the packet is the Innovative Engineering Services for $4,596. Have a motion for that one? On second,
I'll second.
Donna? Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And then I just handed the one to you for SLAM, just let you know that there is a reimbursement in there, which is allowed by the contract. There's only 3 reimbursables that are allowed by the contract. This is one because it's going to the city regulatory submission. And they want a hard copy. So how many pages was that?
166.
166 pages.
That was for the planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning, so that was that, so. Bid invoice for SLAM is $49,704.05. Have a motion to approve that. Have a second, second. Kathy? Discussion? Yes.
Where it says email invoices to, should Karen at CSG be removed?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Ed made
They
it.
already
Yep.
received that.
We got that message. Thank
We
you.
got that message. Everybody has that message.
Just want to make sure that when
Yeah.
it comes out.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Just a quick thing, just let you know, again, I'm working on the Saturday, October 29th, the groundbreaking. Just give you
Thank you, sir.
partly what we've been working on. So on the front page, you can see, with the back thing, some pictures. Dates. And on the back is the building project. Listing everybody and then on the ceremony event, I'm working on that one right now. I have ROTC is gonna do the color guard. I'm waiting to hear, I spoke to I was gonna say choir. It is a choir. Yeah, choir. So they working on that and so is the band working on that.
Oh, good.
So we're gonna do it. We're gonna park in the old new parking lot. It's gonna be where the what's that?
The mountain tops.
The on the top, so we're gonna do it there. Of course, okay, and then that'll be at 11 o'clock, hopefully by the end, 11:30. We all go into the cafeteria and we'll serving hors d'oeuvres for everybody.
Kosher.
On Saturday, that's
And cheesecake?
Rabbi,
And cheesecake.
no cheesecake.
Not if you
But we're
the,
gonna have the cafeteria, the high school cafeteria. I've been in contact with them. I have to go see them on Monday again. So they're gonna be doing all of the orders for us. And water and some other kind of drink. Yeah. I'll tell you a story about that, thing, but no. The other thing, before we go to executive session, the next meeting looks like it's gonna be a joint meeting on November 10th. Because city council doesn't meet, and November 10th, when we meet, that finishes up all the contracts, hopefully.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have all the contracts. City council is a meeting on November 14th, the Monday. They do not meet the day before election day. That's what they always, so our next meeting will be November 10th, and I'll put that to everybody. It'll be a joint meeting. Yeah. Yes. What? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not.
I was not an agenda, so, Dan, wanted to say what we have to do.
Okay, so I would like the final decision that we formally reject or accept the additional cost for the terrace. So as bid, the base bid says no elevated terrace at exterior connected to faculty dining room. The add alternate worth $153,750 is to provide an exterior elevated terrace at the faculty dining room as shown on S101C and A101B.
So we need a motion to,
Formally accept or reject that alternate, B3.
so we want to, if we don't want the terrace,
You reject the alternate.
So we have to add an agenda.
We have to add it to the
yeah,
agenda first.
So a motion has to be to add
yeah,
an agenda.
we have a motion to add to the agenda about the terrace.
So make that D, and then the executive session would become E,
Right, thank you.
okay?
That's why we pay you the big bucks. D. So somebody want to make a motion? to
Patty just did it.
Reject.
To reject the alternative
Alternate B3.
B3 consistent of the terrace.
We have a second?
Second.
Almond. That and Almond.
And
Further
that's a
discussion?
decision that has to be made tonight.
Yeah, because of the steel component.
I am, I'm expecting shop drawings in on those in the next week, and I'd like to know which direction we're going.
And that was 155-ish, right? Value.
$153,700, $750.
So I guess when I was looking at the terrace, my thought process was because people don't have their own rooms, there would be much more difficult ability to, if you had to make a personal call during your lunch break or something, that people could use it for that also. So I'm just trying to.
So, I mean, you're right, they could, and I often take my calls personal, like doctor's office or whatever, outside of my office.
Right.
But I will mention that inside the faculty workrooms on each of the floors contiguous with the classrooms, there are 2 phone rooms in each of the faculty workrooms. So there is an area for private phone calls. You might need to call a parent, so it might be work related, or you might need to call your doctor and you want a little private space to do that. So we do have that accommodated.
If they feel like they want to go outside, still got the greenhouse in there right now, and they can go to the greenhouse and they can feel like they're outside.
It's not a private space, and when not being used by clients. Yeah. It is on the 4th floor. Yeah.
So you get exercise getting there.
But we'll have operative
There you go.
windows, operable windows in a greenhouse.
Can I ask a question? The other outdoor spaces for the staff, and I know Sue mentioned, just refresh my memory. If they wanted to go outside,
So the only, there's certainly some accessible outdoor areas outside of the lowest level where the construction tech room is. So there is a staircase that goes all the way from 4th floor down to lower level. And you could exit and be out on the paved area outside of where construction tech is. The engineering lab is down there, the preschool is down there. There are doors out of each of those classrooms. There's also doors out of the stairs at either end of that.
So that's an opportunity on the high school side. On the middle school side, you know, without suggesting that people go out in the bus loop, I think that the only opportunity is inside the courtyard. And the teachers in the high school side would also have the opportunity to use the courtyard. So
But is that, I just wanted to, just frame of reference, is that where Julia had, and we had done a visual where kind of the movie theater could be outside because we were talking about benches out in that area. Is that,
Yes.
that's a courtyard, area,
yes,
right?
that's what I'm talking about, for the courtyard, in between the two wings of the middle school and high school.
What are the dimensions again of the terrace? 8 feet by-
Yes, and I just double checked, it's 7 feet from the wall to the
The rail.
railing. And the width of that. 50 feet wide. 50 feet long. So it's the length of the faculty dining room, which is about 25 feet of that. And then there's a couple of bathrooms that don't have any windows. So there's a solid exterior wall. So it's the whole length between.
Okay, so where are we?
We have a motion, Pat, Alma made to reject.
Yep.
B3.
We're in discussion.
Right.
Anybody else? Building committee people?
Would there be an option to make it smaller versus eliminating it altogether? Maybe instead of 50 feet, 25 feet? Or is, and I guess, what are the teachers that are in this, in here? think
So that would, gosh, I mean,
Schedule
Right.
prohibited
it's schedule prohibited.
Right.
is
But
really
what-
what
Yeah,
I would
that-
say
that's
immediately,
the only
just,
difficulty.
you know, we would then go through a reiteration of shop drawing. If you all recall, we
Yeah.
pre-detailed this building so we can go right into fabrication.
Where was it located?
So
The high school wing or the middle school wing?
it's in the middle.
It's in the middle.
It's shared by both high school and middle school teachers. It's accessed from the faculty dining room.
Okay, so that'd be off the second.
Well, it's the first floor
It's the
at the
main
main
level.
entrance. It's the main level, but it happens to be a floor above grade in the back.
On the high school side, it'd be one floor above grade.
Yes.
What do you say in the back? What do they?
Towards
Towards
Route
the
8.
back, yeah. So it's the
So
building
the high
between
school, if that's at, and the high school is gonna be 4 stories high.
Correct.
It's at the back of the building, so essentially,
It's 5 stories high in that area. You know,
Right, if you're
there's one,
standing at the back of the
one
building
below
on the Route
grade.
8 side.
and one- and
not gonna have much sun back there either.
No,
That's the big
Well,
trees.
that's the, isn't that the,
late after.
It's the north side
yeah,
of
it's
the
the
building.
west.
So
It's
that's-
west, so you'd have
Well, it's
sun.
the north side.
2 o'clock on. I
Yeah.
think.
Northwest.
No, that's-
It's really facing west. I think.
Yes, because there'll be sunlight.
Yeah, that's what school gets out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Fiona, I mean,
Is there a possibility of adding something on like years down the road? No, it has to be like, it's built in like the steel, right?
No, it's, I mean, the
It's
structural,
structural
steel,
steel.
it needs to tie into the
Right,
building.
right, so it's nothing that can be added on later.
You, I mean, you
You
can
wanna
do
add it on
anything
later,
later.
Yeah, but I mean.
It'll be more money to add on later.
Oh, sure.
Right, but I'm saying maybe years down the road, if someone wants to change, because that's all I'm saying.
Worst case option, you buy the outriggers. In other words, construct the structural steel as if you're gonna put it in. And only spend the first 30,000 of that money. Because the big expense here is actually the grade.
You wanted money for windows.
Oh, gotcha.
It's the,
The walking surface
Yeah, yeah,
has to
yeah.
be very tightly woven
Yeah.
because of, you know, for fear somebody's gonna lose their shoe in it. But also to allow, you know, water to pass
we don't
through.
want it to be a maintenance item where
Right.
custodial staff has to shovel it or can be concerned about ice. So that's why we're having it be a metal grate, but it's very, very narrow. It's heel proof.
So we have a motion by Pat, second by Alman to reject
Okay.
B3. Any further discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Robin opposes. Okay. That's it.
Any more?
I have no other business.
Okay. Could you just go through this and make the choice?
Yes.
Sign. Could I have, I don't need a motion to go into executive session, do I?
Yes, you do.
Oh, I need a motion to go into executive session for building committee and board of ed members and the two suits. Have a motion? John, second?
Why don't you take that?
No, not them.
They're not coming in.
They're not coming.
I'll second.
Second,
You could stay in session.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.